welcome to Work the Left Side. I am joined this week by the Butcher of Grimsby, Brandon. The Butcher, Brandon. Dude, how are we doing? You good?
Yeah, all good, thanks, man. How are you keeping?
Yeah, mate, I'm all good. 5x5. So, firstly, obviously, thank you for coming on, chatting to me. Just chilling for an hour, chatting wrestling. And yeah, talking about things that have been done, things that are gonna be done. Obviously, coming to the year end, let's kind of start at the end of the year. You've had a busy year, dude. To be honest with you, so how you found it this year? You sort of momentum seems to be on a roll.
Yeah, I feel I really ended the year quite strong. I had quite a couple of shows under my belt, obviously the Evo stuff, but then also managing to get myself out to Tidal. Really, I think I couldn't have had a better year to start almost. I kind of got to do some cool things. Like I got to have an external booking, like say at Tidal, which was something that I didn't think was going to be possible, but I was very lucky to be able to do.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, Tidal. I'm based in. I keep for myself as a Leeds boy. I'm not Leeds boy. I live in Leeds. I'm a Nottingham boy, but obviously, yeah, I'm based in Leeds, so I know Tidal very well. Awesome promotion. Getting that booking is it's huge kind of thing for your confidence, for your feeling of self-worth. It must just give you that being like, right, okay, these people want to pay me to come to their show. That's a feeling of awesomeness, I presume.
Yeah, man, like it was just really good, the fact that, like I say, they were willing to take a shot on me, considering that how many people could have been booked in that Rumble, but I managed to get a spot. And don't get me wrong, I also know that I'm very fortunate that I've got such a strong support network in wrestling, that I had a lot of guys that were willing to put a word in for me, which really seemed to help.
That's it. So obviously you mentioned Devo. That's the thing as well. I mean, you haven't been around that long, so this is this is really like your first full year, and this is where the seeds start to get planted.
Yeah. So I actually only just made my debut earlier this year. So I really haven't been wrestling for that long. I've been training for about 2 years, but I've only been on shows since about May time. So kind of managed to cram a lot into a very short period of time.
That's huge. So right, let's get the generic stuff out of the way first. When we talk about training, getting into wrestling, the obvious question I ask everybody, was you a wrestling fan as a kid? Did you sort of watch it growing up, and it's always been in the back of your head, right, I want to do this? Did you get dragged along? Did somebody talk you into it? What made you take those first steps through the doors?
I mean, so yeah, I've been a wrestling fan now for about 20 years, I reckon. I remember watching it when I was really young, and I didn't really understand it, but at the same time, I was like, this is incredible. Like I always say, I don't think there's many other forms of media that kind of are like wrestling. So I grew up watching, kind of like everyone did, like from in my age group, watching a lot of WWE. Rey Mysterio and the Hardy Boys were very much like my bag when I was a little kid. And then as I got older, it was one of them things where, unfortunately, WWE was on Sky and we didn't have it. So I was a big TNA kid, and it's kind of carried on into the modern age, to be honest with you.
Awesome. Because obviously anybody who doesn't know TNA, obviously we had it, if you had just basic cable, basic Sky packages, it was on Bravo. I used to watch on Bravo all the time, kind of thing, and obviously it was free in the UK. But yeah, so we're talking, I'm guessing, like sort of mid noughties, late 2000s, like 2009.
More honestly, more like early 2000s onwards. I'm a little bit younger than I look, apparently.
Well, I was thinking about two. So I'm thinking obviously like when it was at its peak with like AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, Amazing Reds, Loki, all those guys just absolutely tearing it up.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it was the tag division as well for me. Like, don't get me wrong, everyone loves the X division. It's almost impossible not to. But like some of the teams that I grew up watching and then kind of got into when I got a bit more serious wrestling, so like Motor City Machine Guns, I was a big Beer Money fan. Yeah.
Money. Yeah, Beer Money were boss. So obviously, yeah, I'm still waiting on Bobby Roode. Obviously, don't want anyone to get sacked, but if he ever got let go, just somewhere, any promotion, please just give us a Beer Money reunion at some point. That's all I want.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. Like I know most people tend to prefer America's Most Wanted, but nah, Beer Money were really cool when I was a kid.
Yes, definitely. So yeah, basically, so you've grown up watching it. I'm trying to sort of timeline it because I know at certain points it was very tricky to find a school nearby, and obviously over the years it's got a hell of a lot easier. You know, I've said it numerous times. You're never 30 minutes away from a wrestling school, no matter where you live nowadays. So how did you scout it? How did you come across, your first area of learning, shall I say?
So to start, to be perfectly honest with you, the reason that like I started training more than anything was Scotty. So me and Scotty have been friends since for about 17 years now. It's kind of got to that point now where it's like I love him like my brother. I don't always like him, but I always love him. And I'm sure he'd say the exact same thing.
Yeah, yeah. Traditional family unit.
Yeah, very much, man. So like I remember there was Evo around the corner, and I used to go to BWR shows all the time, but just as a fan. And I saw there was running a beginner's course, and I kind of put something on Facebook like, oh, I don't know whether or not I should do this. And Scotty messaged me straight away like, yes, you absolutely should.
Nice. So, well, just a massive fan of Scotty's. Obviously, I've had the pleasure of talking to him in the past. Any chance I get to big him up, I still jokingly like I'm going to get the T-shirt saying Scotty is awesome. Just hashtag Scotty is awesome. So, that's just another box to tick for reasons we should be grateful for Scotty. He got you into wrestling, so that's by default. That's awesome as well. So.
Oh yeah, like I say, he got me started, and honestly, like I can't say enough. Like he's probably been my biggest supporter going forward. Like Tidal, I know he put a word in for me there. Even things like my first singles match was against Scotty, and it was him that was like pushing to be able to do that.
Awesome. So obviously, yeah, Evo has been your home from day one then, really?
Yeah, pretty much. I've started kind of branching out a little bit lately. So I've done a couple of sessions at PPW. I'm hoping to become a bit more regular with that school.
Me, it goes without saying, I'm never going to sort of have a bad word to say about them. So, if you get a chance to, and dude, if that's the case, I might just have to make you a Pokemon at some point.
I'd be up for that, dude.
You've got to find the perfect one, man. There's a lot of thought goes into the Pokemon transformations. So, but yeah, I mean, it's obviously it's not a besmirchment on Evo. A lot of people sort of say, they've got love for the school, the original school, but it's nice to go out and see what other people sort of do. So, just take a little bit from here, a little bit from there.
That's been one of the things that I've kind of learned, and I've like had drilled into me from various coaches like Scotty, Matt Myers, Nathan Cruz. They always said like wrestling is subjective at the end of the day. What you deem to be good wrestling could be completely different to me. Similar with like coaching. Scotty has a very specific style that he's very, very good at. But like Liam Slater has a different style. So there's like elements that I could maybe take from both of them. And like, it's one of them things where it doesn't ever hurt to try and learn a little bit more and learn something a little bit differently.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that's the thing. I think that's the awesome thing as well about wrestling schools across the country. They all seem very open to working together. I've noticed that a lot with obviously, again, anybody who knows this show, knows this channel, knows of my love for Pursuit, so I always keep an eye on what they're doing. But it's like Nathan Cruz was there recently, it's like doing guest seminars, Robbie X has been there, Wild Boar's there, Chris Masters, Stroke Adonis is turning up. They've done like a swap with Future Shock. So it looks like everybody's open to exchanging of ideas and yeah, just helping everybody learn, be more adaptable.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think there's a really good thing going on, like kind of in the north of England, where places are starting to swap knowledge and things like that. I feel like in the past it was maybe like, 20 years ago or so, it was maybe a little bit more guarded and everyone had their own little cliques, whereas like schools like PPW are starting to try and break that down, and it's really nice to see. Like, I've never gone to a PPW session and never felt like I was an outsider, and we've had some of their lads come down to Evo, and I like to think that we've always kind of like extended hospitality to them as well.
Well, that's it. I mean, again, from I've had the pleasure of speaking to a shed load of people now over the last couple of years since we've been doing this, and it does just seem like there's just a hell of a lot more of a positive vibe, around the business. Everybody seems to be more willing to help each other now, as opposed to kind of guarding their spot.
Yeah, without a doubt. Honestly, that's what I mean by that. I've been very fortunate with kind of some of the people that I've got supporting me, because there's been times where I didn't know if I had this in me, and there was other guys that were kind of dragging me along at times, being like, don't be an idiot. Like, again, like Scotty, Reese and Rogan have been good supporters of mine as well. Like some of the other BWR boys, like a lad called Jimmy McKilwee, he's been really good to me. And honestly, at times, I don't know. That's why I'm so thankful for all of them, like how they've helped me. Because at the end of the day, I was completely new. They could have quite easily, like, yeah, me and Scotty are friends, but at the end of the day, he's had TNT belts. Yeah, I mean, he's everywhere. You can't seem to go far without seeing his face on a poster. And same with Reese and Rogan now. They're getting out everywhere as well. So the fact that they all took time to kind of try and help me meant the world.
Yeah, no, definitely. And again, that's the thing. When doing this show, I've had the pleasure of speaking to people from 1 year into the business to 20 years into the business, and across the board. Obviously, I spoke to Reese recently, and he was like going on about helping people out. Like obviously when he started, to then being able to kind of pass on that wisdom. Speaking to Hardman Dan recently, and he credited Reese as being a massive factor for him being in the business, helping him through on a day-to-day basis. So again, you're seeing the same sort of thing. So it just sounds like, Reese and they just deserve all the fortune that they're getting now.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, there's kind of like this younger generation that's come up through a mixture of NGW and Evo. Like, you've got a lad in Grimsby called Zachary Rowe, you've got Hardman Dan, you've got Jack Maxwell. There is so many people that are kind of all coming through at the same time. And I don't think any of us would be able to do it without like the help of the people that are more experienced, that are at the training school.
I mean, I think a lot of people are sort of getting wise with BWR now. It's an amazing promotion, but I think it's kind of been a sleeper cell for a while, but the shows they're putting on are absolutely amazing. The talent that's coming through. I mean, the fact that, you get the Evo BWR shows kind of back to back on any given, on the day. It's just an amazing showcase of talent. And it must be great for you guys as well, because you're just feeding on the energy.
Yeah, it's incredible. I've always said, like, I mean, I'm a little bit biased because that was my home promotion before I was even training. But like BWR, I always think is really special. It's always a good night at Cleethorpes Memorial Hall. They draw well, which I think says a lot about it themselves. And they've got a very dedicated fan base. You tend to see the same faces coming through. And it's just nice now because it feels like this younger generation, like almost like we're able to kind of restock the roster a little bit and give something a bit different. Because that's kind of like my aim is, like, people always say wrestling owes you nothing. I just want to kind of give back, and I think it'd be really cool, like full circle moment. Just the fact I can help out with Evo shows, like, it's great.
Yeah, well, that's it then, because that will also be the moment where you kind of feel like you've graduated, I suppose. When you'll be deemed as, like, the wise head. You're the one that people are looking to get words of wisdom from.
Yeah, and I think the good thing is at the moment as well is the fact that because we are all so close, like with a lot of the Evo guys, we all give each other feedback, because again, we all maybe have a different perspective on how something went and how we would do something differently. So even though I am so new, I can go to the more experienced people and say, like, oh, I maybe wouldn't have done this, or things like that. And there's never any heat there. It's always just, oh, that's interesting. And then they explain they'll explain to me why they do it. So like, they'll go, oh, well, I did it because of this. And I'll go, oh, you are right. Yes, I just don't know what I'm talking about.
No, but that's how you learn as well, though. That's good because, you know, every now and again, though, you might pick something up and they'll be like, okay, no, maybe, yeah, you know, obviously looking at it through younger eyes, you know, maybe, okay, we should try this next time for, you know, the other audience kind of thing. So it's always worth, you know, talking about it because, yeah, you're either going to be right and they're going to be like, okay, cool. Or, as you said, you learn something. You're like, okay, now I understand why they did it.
Yeah, honestly, like from when I started training, I noticed that I watched wrestling a lot differently to how before. I used to just watch it as a fan. Now, people kind of say that when you start training, you'll never be able to watch it as a fan again. And unfortunately, that's very much been the case for me. Like I watch it more like, but then I feel like you get a more of an appreciation for it because instead of just like, you know, popping the moves, for example, it's more like, oh, what they did to set up for that is incredible and things like that. Like you kind of pick up on some of the smaller things and it just gives you a new appreciation.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that because that's what I always like to ask people as well, you know, that have only just kind of been around for a few years is, are you still able to watch wrestling as a fan, or do you find yourself just being sat there either taking notes or critiquing or, you know, like say, just analysing everything? But I suppose as well, on the flip side is, you know, a match is a fucking good match when you've just totally switched off and you've just become a fan again.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. We went down to a group of us went down and watched AEW in Wembley, and I was able to switch off for some of the matches, and it was kind of nice to almost revert back to like how I was as a child, where it was like, oh my god, this is just amazing, and not have to think, oh well, I didn't like this or I didn't like that. I could kind of really switch off for it.
Yeah, cool. That's like I say, yeah, it always kind of intrigues me because some people, like I said, just can turn off. Some people can't. Some people can find that happy medium. Another thing that I like to sort of talk about is obviously, dude, you know, I introduced you as, you know, the Butcher of Grimsby, you know, Brandon Butcher. How did it's a character, you know, obviously, how did that come about? You know, was that the idea from day one? Did you sort of, you know, spitball it with a few people? Did it start as something else and evolve?
So I kind of didn't really know what to do to start with. Like I was always very much the quiet guy at the back. Like I never had eyes on me. So the idea of putting on a larger than life character seemed almost foreign to me. Honestly, a lot of it really came from I watched an interview, I can't remember who it was with, but someone basically said the best gimmicks are just you, but turned up to 1,000. So really that's where it came from. And then it'll kind of be, you'll notice a theme with a lot of my career, but because like Scotty's my gym partner, most of the ideas, I'd like to say I probably contributed about 20% of the ideas, and the rest of them was, well, you could do this, you could do that, you could do this. And I was like, so really, it's kind of the Butcher character really is kind of his brainchild almost more than me.
Well, we'll say call it a 50-50. You know, you kind of came up with it, but you managed to fine tune it, tweak it, you know, shine it up. So yeah, we'll call it a 50-50, dude. You know, take credit.
Well, that was one thing. Like, don't get me wrong, he's got some incredible ideas, but there was sometimes there'd be some things that he was like, oh, maybe you do this, and it was just, I think I had to find something that I was comfortable in because some of these ideas are incredible, but I was kind of like, great idea, but it's not who I am, and I don't know if I'll be able to give it like the justice it deserves because it just wouldn't feel right. Almost, I think I needed something that was almost kind of based on myself because like I'm not the best actor. I've never had any training or anything. Like I find it a lot easier to slip into that more so by being myself, opposed to kind of trying to portray someone else.
Yeah. Well, I say, like you sort of said, yeah, you can just exaggerate existing mannerisms. You can exaggerate existing characteristics, kind of thing. Like you said, turn up to 1,000, but at its core, it's still you. So that's yeah. Again, that seems to be again. That's what I love about wrestling. You get some people that can just be like totally just flick a switch and just fucking change, you know, into somebody else completely, kind of thing. And then you got other people that are just like, no, I want to kind of keep it a little bit centered. I want to keep it me, but just yeah, as you said, turned up. But with those kind of characters, obviously the out and out sort of characters. You know, I was always kind of asking, you know, like, do they have an origin? Do they have like a moral compass? You know, do you kind of decide when you're doing a match, not what I would do, but what would this character do? I don't know if that applies to, you know, Butcher or not.
At times, yeah. It very much also depends on kind of like the roles that heel or babyface. A lot of the time, in terms of how I have to kind of think, it is me, but it's not me. It's the more aggressive, kind of confident version of me. So I've got to think like, how would he respond to that? Especially at times in a lot of my like heel work, it's kind of, I am very aggressive, but just being aggressive isn't good enough. There needs to be a reason behind it. So I kind of see Brandon as like kind of like an outsider, almost like society kind of didn't care about him. So now instead of like trying to please everyone, he did that when he was younger, and now he sees it as, this is my time to make people pay.
Yeah, that's it. Just focus on me. F you all. Yeah, it's my time.
Yeah, exactly, man. Very much so. So like a lot of the inspiration as well, like certain mannerisms, it came from like John Moxley, for example. But then also the Butcher name came from the Boys.
Yes. Yes, Carl Urban.
Yeah, so that's kind of another source of inspiration. And then in terms of also from in wrestling, I mean, growing up, even to this day, I'm a massive CM Punk fan. So a lot of his promos and things like that, awesome. Yeah, a lot of his promos, I found that they kind of spoke to me a bit when I was younger. So I look for inspiration from that as well.
That's cool. Because I was going to ask, you know, again, it's something I like to pick people's brains over. Is like, you know, does the inspiration just come from wrestling? Do you pull it from other sources of media, you know, like films or TV? Or, you know, I'm a massive comic book geek, so, you know, if I ever did do that, I would be sort of going through comic books looking for stuff, you know, random ass shit, just be able to kind of reference. But obviously, you mentioned the Boys. Yeah, just as soon as any time, I didn't want to say, because it is quite, you know, the Butcher it could be one of many things. But part of me was kind of hoping, I do hope there's a Boys reference in there somewhere. So thank you.
Yeah, no, Matt. So for me, I was a bit like, if I'm just looking at wrestling for inspiration, I'm missing out on so much else. So I wanted to incorporate other elements of like my personality into it and some of my interests outside of wrestling. I mean, at one point, my original last name that I had was going to be Grayson, because I'm a massive Nightwing fan.
Dick Grayson, what a man, dude.
But then I kind of realised I struggled to do a backflip, so I can't really name myself after a great gymnast, kind of.
Yeah, it kind of puts you on the certain path. And you're just like, yeah, no, you don't want that. That's quick sidebar. I know obviously we're here to talk wrestling, but I do like to sidebar into other stuff as well if we can. Titans on Netflix. You watched it?
I did, yeah. It wasn't bad. I just think for me, I'm still kind of living off like the cartoon from the early 2000s.
Okay.
Yeah, that's probably I still think my favorite depiction of like the Teen Titans.
Before it became Teen Titans Go, the original animation.
Yeah, we don't talk about Teen Titans Go.
Bird. But yeah, well, I enjoyed Titans. I thought series 2 was boss and Deathstroke turned up. It was cracking kind of thing. So it kind of dipped, but I thought it was kind of, it wasn't Daredevil, but it was better than Arrow. It was kind of in the middle.
So you say that, but I think Arrow for the first 2 seasons was incredible.
Yes.
Like the first season of Arrow, I would still say is probably one of the best live action superhero adaptations you've seen. It just unfortunately nosedived so quickly after about season 2.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I did thoroughly enjoy the first series. The first 2 series. Just again, Deathstroke turned up in series 2. You know, I loved Deathstroke. I loved the dude who played Deathstroke. Loved him in Spartacus. Guy's awesome. But Daredevil to me just, you know, raised the bar. I've just rewatched Daredevils and I just think they're awesome. So they're always going to be my. You sound like a DC guy though to me.
Yeah, I have very much the same view towards comic books I have kind of towards wrestling, which is, yeah, I've got slight preferences, but if you're so tribal and towards one side, then you missed out on something great. So yeah, don't get me wrong. I kind of always leaned towards DC from when I was a young kid. But as I've got older, I've got kind of like very much a mixture. So I've got most Batman graphic novels and some comics, but I've got like the back catalogue of Deadpool as well, for example. And then when I was a little kid, and still to this day, to be honest, like I've just ordered Spider-Man 2 for my PlayStation as well.
Dude, mate, I literally lost 3 weeks on that freaking game. It was freaking mental. Right, I'm going to put a pin in this for now because anybody who follows me on social knows next year I've got comic book episodes coming up. Got the first episode sorted, but I'm looking to people to talk to for the second episode. So I will chat to you after this about something for next year.
Yeah, definitely, man.
So back to wrestling. Yes, wrestling. Ooh. Yeah, dude, obviously, you know, I say Evo. So we mentioned Tidal. Obviously, hopefully, you know, you'll become sort of a mainstay there next year. I think that's a promotion that's, you know, gathering momentum as well. You know, obviously Scotty's champ there now. At sometime in the next 12 months, you know, as a fan, you know, I would quite happily pay money to see a Brandon versus Scotty match at some point.
Honestly, I'd love to do it because so my first singles match, so my second ever show, I kind of got lucky. Like it was the perfect singles match I could ever have because it was me and Scotty. But I'd love to run it back at a later date just to kind of like prove to not only myself but prove to him that like what he saw in me was there and that I've improved as well.
Yeah, that's it. I just think, you know, obviously we're just talking BWR, talking Tidal. I just think the way, you know, you've just started off, you know, in the last 12 months, I think we're talking those two promotions. I think if I talk to you again, you know, in a year's time, I think we'll be talking about 6 or 7, you know, more promotions. You know, I would expect you to just kind of keep going next year. A lot of wrestlers, I ask, you know, not to reference the Chris Jericho thing. I always end up clicking my fingers when I'm doing it, though. It's like, do you have a list? You know, have you got like a list of promotions that you enjoy as a fan, that as a wrestler, like, you know, I would like to be in that ring at some point?
Oh yeah, definitely. So obviously BWR are quite high up there, just the personal, just on the main show. And then in terms of others, really, like I've watched a lot of what like True Grit are doing, for example, and I quite like they've got a good product and it seems to just be going up and up and up. And also they seem to invest in their tag division a lot. And hopefully, well, in the new year, I'll be available for tag bookings with one of the PPW lads.
Ooh.
Yeah, so me and Jay Vertigo, we tagged on the last Evo show. And then but going forward, we're looking into maybe doing a little bit more together because I feel like, one, Jay's a big Motor City fan as well. The only difference is he loves Saban, whereas I'm Shelley. Shelley's one of my favorites of all time. So I feel like we kind of complement each other quite well because although we have a similar view on certain things, like Jay's incredible. He does things that I just couldn't dream of doing, like running moonsaults, running shooting stars, things like that. Like, you know what I mean? I'd love to be able to do that, but I can't. But then I can bring kind of like a bit more of the size and the aggression to it as well. So I feel like we're going to hopefully complement each other quite well. Oh,
mate, I would pop huge for that. Obviously, yeah, Jay Vertigo, again, I had the pleasure of chatting to him on here, class him as a friend of the show. Obviously, I know he does a little bit. I know he's primarily known as a singles. He does tag with Lawson sometimes, but obviously seen him tag with you as well, and that would be. I think it's nice when people can have a few different partners to choose from, depending on the promotion. You know, it kind of gives them a bit more variation to the booking.
Exactly, man. It helps us both out at the end of the day. Maybe gets us out some other places. And Jay's been working a lot longer than me, so it gives me the ability to kind of learn from someone who's been doing it longer. So hopefully that I can develop as well. And also, if you've got a tag partner with you, you can't take your foot off the gas because you're not just letting yourself down, but you're letting them down as well.
That's it. It's just it's not, yeah, it is pressure, but it's good pressure. You know, it's that desire to be like as you said, man, I can't take my foot off the gas. You know, it's bad enough letting myself down. You don't want to let somebody else down. You don't want to be that guy. So it's got a bit more motivation. Right. So obviously, you know, wrestling again. We've mentioned TNA. You've mentioned AEW, WWE for back in the day. Singles wrestling, tag team wrestling. Do you have a preference? Do you enjoy them both equally for different reasons, or do you sort of rate one above the other?
So in terms of moments that I kind of remember, most of them have come from like singles wrestling. But if you asked me to sit down and watch like a match, personally, I choose tag every day. So for me, don't get me wrong, good singles wrestling is incredible. Like, you know, I always think of like Punk versus Cena at Money in the Bank and how they made people feel something. But I just think because of the element of the partners, it adds so much more drama. And I always say, like, a good tag match, in my opinion, is better than like a good singles match.
You've got more spots, you've got more moments, you've got maybe the story doesn't flow as well. That's why singles are more memorable, because you know you get the story, you get the build up. Whereas you don't really get that with tag. You don't get the build up in tag team matches, but you get a hell of a fucking match kind of thing. You know, it just you get, obviously, you know, you can't replicate the hot tag moment in a singles match. You know, the hot tag is a genuine pop on any given show.
And I think when you look at like some of the moments that have, like, when they do tag wrestling well, unfortunately WWE seems to have kind of abandoned doing storylines within it. But I look back at like the Briscoes trilogy with FTR, and everyone felt something across them matches. Like, they were just incredible. And for me, like, that was what really kind of invested me. Like, I was buying Ring of Honor pay-per-views pretty much just to watch that match.
Yes. But again, you know, that's Briscoe as a boss. That's FTR as well for me. It's like I think one of my favorite matches of this year was Juice and Jay White versus FTR in like a 60-minute freaking tag team marathon.
Yeah, no, they're incredible. And I just think as well that they're so different now compared to what other people are kind of doing, because that, like, when they were the Revival and it was no flips, just this, and it really makes them stand out. And that's kind of like NXT in particular is kind of very much responsible for reigniting my love for like tag team wrestling in particular. When you had FTR, American Alpha, even like Enzo and Big Cass, to be honest with you, because they were entertaining as hell.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, everybody kind of credits AEW, you know, with having a good tag division when it started. But NXT, man, like you sort of said, they're NXT when they were the underdogs, when they were sort of fighting. Like I say, American Alpha, FTR, or the Revival. I loved Enzo and Cass. You know, I'll hold my hands up. You know, didn't know Enzo was a massive, you know, quack kind of thing. But as a character and as a team, you know, they were boss. They were just like the modern day New Age Outlaws for me. You know, you had Enzo on the mic, and you just had the big guy that could go.
Yeah, without a doubt, man. And like, so tag's always kind of held like a special place in my heart. That's why I've kind of got my eyes on promotions that are hopefully trying to push it a bit. So like on the weekend, me and Jay went up to North. So we went to go watch, and honestly, it's an incredible promotion. But like, helped out with the ring, but also we did the Grizzled Young Vets seminar just before it as well.
Ooh, nice. You just kind of sit there like a massive human sponge and just soak it all in.
Tried to, honestly. I think you could spend a year with them boys and still not learn a fraction of what they learn. I mean, other than being one of the best, if not the best, unsigned tag teams in the world at the moment, you can just tell that because they used to be coaches when they used to have fighting spirit in Liverpool, like, they've got such a way of breaking things down to you that it's incredible. Because as well, with everything they've done like already, they could quite easily be, oh well, we don't need to tell anyone else anything. But they're the most humble guys you'll ever meet.
That's amazing. That's quality too. It's just nice to hear. You know, you kind of think sometimes you're just a bit like, oh, you know, I love what they do in the ring. I just hope they're not massive melts. You know, if you get to speak to them, you're just going to be like, please don't be an idiot. Please. Oh no, you're lovely, awesome, cool, right? You know, I can still like you.
Yeah, honestly, they always say kind of like, don't meet your heroes, but honestly, if anyone needs to meet, wants to meet, they should do. They're incredible dudes. They're probably even better guys than they are wrestlers. And honestly, if you knew how highly I kind of rated them, that would say a lot.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that to me was one of the mistakes WWE made over the last sort of several years. Is those guys needed the tag? Well, didn't need, but they should have had the tag titles. Back in NXT when they were kind of having a little challenge. I'd love to see them as tag team champs.
Yeah, I think unfortunately NXT dropped the ball with a lot of people, and they are definitely some of them. Like, if I was running WWE, God forbid, there's not a chance in hell that I would have ever let them walk out the door or allowed them to get to the point where they were used so badly that they felt like they had to leave.
Yeah, that's it. So, but their loss is your guys' benefits. You get to sit there and listen to what they're saying and learn from the best, basically. So obviously again, North is a promotion that I will big up any chance given on this show. Never made it to a show personally, watched a lot on YouTube, and even on YouTube it's just the electricity just comes out of the TV kind of thing. So one day, yeah, I would love to go see what they're doing. Obviously they've just had the tag team tournament. That's what, because you guys were there to view and enjoy. So they like True Grit. They appreciate tag team wrestling, I think.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, the show I'd never managed to make it to a North show before. Just with where I'm based, it's a little bit of a trek up there for me. But I couldn't recommend it enough. The crowd there is absolutely electric. Went for the main event when it was Rio versus Leon Slater. There was literally must have been about 5 minutes of just them stood on opposite turnbuckles and the crowd screaming, "Let's go Rio, Liam Slater," and that was Leon Slater, and that was literally it for about 5 minutes. And it's a really cool venue as well. Like, North are definitely onto something really good there.
They appreciate stories as well. They've put so much effort. Like, if anybody, if you don't follow their YouTube channel, go subscribe to it. See the build up to the matches. I was just mentioned, like, one of my favorite tag team matches of this year. I think one of my favorite matches in the UK this year was Leon Slater versus Liam Slater at North. The promos that were coming out beforehand, the build up, the electricity. Kudos. I can't big up North enough for that kind of sort of stuff.
Yeah, no, I tell you what, as well, as good as it is on YouTube, and don't get me wrong, it is really good, or on Fight, it's better in person. I was blown away with how good it was.
Well, that's it. I mean, that's, British wrestling is awesome. Obviously, people can only get to so many shows, but there are certain promotions as well, just like I mentioned, like True Grit, North, BWR. Look, if you can get to one of these shows and experience it live, Odyssey being another one over in Morecambe. I need to get to that place at some point because that just sounds freaking mental. It's still wrestling. Wrestling is still real in Morecambe.
Real in Morecambe.
Yeah, the people, dude. You ever venture over that way, mate? Seriously, go over as a face. Don't go over there as a heel, dude. Or get some Kevlar or something if you do.
Yeah, no, I know. Reese and Rogan has told me some stories about Morecambe, and yeah, it doesn't necessarily sound a safe place at times.
Has he told you the story about making
a different level, man?
Has he told you the story about making a young child cry?
Oh yeah, he did.
He told me, I was just like, you're absolute nasty man. But yeah, dude. Hopefully, you get over there, you get to experience. It just sounds like out of this world. But again, it's just British wrestling at the minute, dude. It's awesome. You're not limited to like 5 or 6 good promotions anymore. As I said about the training schools, I think you're probably no more than 30 minutes away from just a very good wrestling show, no matter where you live.
Yeah, there definitely seems to be like a little bit of the resurgence lately, and it's really good to see. Not just obviously for me, hopefully be able to get out there a bit more, but also just seeing the fact that there is so many boys now that are like boys and girls, they're getting paid, they're getting out there. Do you know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, most wrestlers are just trying to live their dream, and it's awesome to see like all these people like that I know train so incredibly hard to be getting given opportunities everywhere.
Well, that's it. But then, it's like we touched on it earlier. It's more of a positive energy now. People are helping each other out. I don't think people need to be as guarded because there's more options available. Maybe like 10, 15 years ago, yeah, people were guarding the spot because there's, as I just said, there was only like 5 or 6 good promotions. Now people could be a bit more like, okay, I can't watch this show, but mate, you need to check this guy out. He's fucking awesome. I endorse him, kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, so many people are. There just seems to be a lot more support in wrestling, which is really cool to see. Honestly, I wouldn't be where I was without people vouching for me, and they don't have to, but it's just great. Everyone just kind of wants to see each other succeed, which I think is the main thing. Like at the end of the day, yeah, everyone wants to kind of be at the top of the card. Of course they do, but everyone who's goes to a show or is a wrestler was or is a wrestling fan at heart. So you're with like-minded people that you just kind of want to see each other succeed.
Yeah, that's it. And that's something else that kind of comes across when I'm talking to people. Like we talked about it earlier, about branching out. If you're not training at Evo, you're into PPW. If you ever went to Future Shock, or if you ever went to, somewhere else, yeah, you're the guy who's coming from somewhere else. But at the end of the day, you're a wrestling fan. You're somebody who's on the same ladder as these guys and girls. You've all got that one thing in common. You've got that natural bond. You could walk into any venue, any school, anywhere, and be like, right, you've just got that, you've got that connection with everybody there.
Yeah, I mean, like when we went up to the north and the GWA, the E7, honestly, people couldn't be friendly enough with you. And considering it was people that I'd like never met before, because I've only ever been to Newcastle one other time when I drove Scotty up to wrestling in Newcastle. So I've never been there. There was people that, like I say, never met before, but I went in a crow top. So like the Brandon Lee Crow movie.
Yep.
I went in a Brandon Lee Crow top, and there was loads of people that came up and was like, "Oh, you're right, man. That's really cool," and things like that. So it's really good, like just that you can go anywhere now and kind of almost make friends very easily.
Dude, victims, aren't we all? That's
where Brandon comes from, by the way.
Oh, for sake, dude! Seriously, I picked obviously because just giving you first. I just thought you'd stretch your actual first name, dude. Right, yeah, like you need to be on episode 2 of this comic book shizzle that's going on next year, because I just think this is going to be. I'm sorry, I'm just thinking about the Crow now. So it's just whenever I get to speak to somebody who actually appreciates comics, it kind of takes me back, because I'm old school. Nobody loved comics back when I first got into them, so now it's like, oh, that's cool. Okay, somebody else that appreciates or knows what I'm talking about. So yeah, but again, the wrestling world. Right. So we've touched upon singles and tag teams. You've mentioned earlier about working face, working heel. Obviously, again, what I like to ask people who, when they first step through the doors, when you've made this plan, right, I'm going to be a wrestler, I'm going to start training. Did you see yourself as being like, right, I'm going in there, I want to be a bad guy, I want people to boo me? Or did you think, right, you know what, I'm going to be an awesome babyface, everybody's going to love me, and then just become a bad guy? Or did you go in wanting to be a bad guy and then become a good guy? Or was you just open to everything?
Kind of. I'd say I was a little bit open to everything, in the sense of, like, I'm a big believer in, at the end of the day, if someone wants to book me, I'll do what they want me to do. But honestly, when I first started, heel all the way. That's kind of where I saw myself going. A lot of the guys that I really enjoyed watching on TV I always kind of enjoyed heel work more. I'd like a deeper appreciation for it. And I also I thought it was me turned up to 10. And I was a bit like, well, people always tell me I'm not the most likable guy, so maybe I should be a heel. And then it was kind of like when I made my debut, and all of a sudden people started like chanting my name, and I was taken back a minute. I was like, oh, I didn't see this ever happening.
Nice. So that's the thing, though, as well. Right. So again, I don't know. I'm the same as you, dude. I just like wrestling. I'm not pro AEW. I'm not pro WWE. I don't like one and dislike the other purely. It's not football. I haven't picked a team. I'm not supporting that team and fuck everybody else, kind of thing. I just like wrestling across the board. So talked about AEW. MJF for me is like one of the best heels of this generation, and I hate seeing him as a face.
I know, but the problem is he's so good as heel, he almost turns himself face, and that's the problem he gets to. It's kind of like Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is a better heel than he is a face, without a doubt, but he's so good that you can't help but almost cheer for him, so then he turns himself.
That's it. That's what I was going to bring it back to you then, in that sense. Like, obviously you've gone out there with the mindset of like, right, I want to be a heel, I'm expected to be a heel. Then people start cheering you. It's like, shit, you know, do I kind of have to try and fight this? Do I have to kind of resist it, or do you just embrace it and be like, oh shit, I guess I'm a good guy now?
I get it's kind of just trying to feel it out while I was out there. Like the match with Scotty, when I started to get cheered, I was just like, well, I'll be honest with you, I was so nervous about messing up. I kind of didn't even process any of that until afterwards. When I watched it back, I was more just like, I cannot make him look shit. One, because I won't want to do that to him, and two, I will not hear the end of it if I do. So yeah, I just kind of like, I feel like sometimes try and feed off the crowd. That's been one of the main tips that I was given off like various coaches, like go with what the crowd feels, because sometimes when you try and resist it, they'll almost fight back with you harder. And I mean, I had an advantage, don't get me wrong, because it was at Cleethorpes, you know, Butcher of Grimsby, like hometown pop and all that. So that definitely did help. And especially my first one in the Battle Royal, they announced me as making my debut. So I feel like that always kind of like gets you over with the crowd a little bit to start as well.
Yeah, it's kind of like the return at the Rumble, isn't it? You know, if somebody's not seen you for ages, or the debut of the hometown boy, you know, you could come in there giving everybody the finger and they're still going to cheer you.
Yeah. Well, look at Punk going back to WWE.
Mate, I was in two minds. I've had it processing in the back of my head where I'm trying to keep the focus on you. I want to talk about you. You mentioned Punk earlier, and I was just like, do I mention it? Do I not mention it? I've got to ask, man. I'm always curious about people's take on anything wrestling. To me, when he went to AEW, it was a movement of love. He came back for the love of wrestling. He's gone back to WWE as a intention of spite. It's out of anger. It's not for the wrestling. It's as just a massive FU to AEW.
Oh, without a doubt, I think it's one of the pettiest moves in the world. And don't get me wrong, I kind of respect him for that sheer amount of pettiness. And obviously, he's making good money. But yeah, no, I do get the vibe. Like when he did the whole "I'm home," I'm a bit like, I'm not sure. But then, to be fair, if we get AJ back as well out of it, then like I'll be quite happy with that, because her Black Widow finisher is still one of my favourites to this day.
Yes. Yeah, it's just, I say I'm rocking the hoodie, so, you know, I still got love for the guy. But it just kind of annoyed me in the sense of like, dude, you know, it's just, I just think too much stuff had been done or said. But as I say, you know, never say never. If the Ultimate Warrior can go back, you know, anyone can go back. So.
Yeah, exactly. You look at some of the guys that have gone back over the year, and I think what it comes down to in WWE is the same thing that's always going to come down to, and it's what's going to make the most money. Punk going back is always going to make them money, and that's all. I think that's all that really matters to Vince McMahon.
That's it. At the end of the day, it's a business. You know, you can't, as you say, business over personal. So, right, back to the face heel discussion. What is your take on movesets when you are working face, when you're working heel? Do you have the same moves? Do you have like a separate sort of moveset for when you're a good guy, for when you're a bad guy? You know, do you look at a move and be like, oh shit, I'm working heel, I can't do that because I don't want to get popped?
I mean, I think it very much comes down to like how the match is and who you're working with as well. Because if you're with a really good like chicken shit kind of heel, you can hit them with basically anything you want, and the crowd are up for it. But it very much depends. If it's like baby, at the end of the day, the crowd is probably not going to want you to see. So there are certain moves that I do a bit more as like with my heel work, like kind of like the old like the Pentagon arm snapper. I don't tend to incorporate that as much when I do face work, because it's not a very face move. But it was something that's kind of always been drilled into me, which is like there's certain moves even as a heel you don't do. Sometimes it's not about moves anyway. It's about creating moments. It's the pauses that you take before. And that was something that I kind of really, really struggled with, and then got hammered into me because I was just focusing on like, you know, playing 2K games, like hit this big move, hit this big move. Exactly. But yeah, like I think honestly, it very much depends on the moment and the match. You know what I mean? Say if you've got like Hangman Adam Page versus Swerve, he could have hit Swerve with anything in that match, and everyone would have still thought he was the babyface because Swerve had done all these horrible things to kind of build up, and that was like the climax to it. So I'd say it's not necessarily about being heel or face. I guess it's knowing what the match is. You know what I mean? Are you the opening match? Things like that. Because chances are, if you're the opening match, I mean, not that I can anyway, but I wouldn't be whipping out like 10 Canadian destroyers if it was just the first match.
Oh, would you not? Or would you do that and be like, right, there you go, follow that, to the rest of the card kind of thing? Because again, that's another conversation that I have with people where, does the first match go out and absolutely set it on fire and then expect everybody else to follow? Or do you go for like a slow burner and build it up and build it up and build it up until the main event?
I think it very much depends on the show, on the card, things like that. For me, I've always kind of been told that like the best way to look at wrestling is kind of like a heartbeat monitor. So, or like a roller coaster, it goes up, it goes down, like such. So I think like it depends on the show, and it depends what else is on the card. Like if someone opens with say like a grudge match on the first, then yeah, you go through it. But otherwise, sometimes as well, for me, I'm thinking if your first match, some of the fans might be arriving late. If you go out there and do everything, chances are not everyone is maybe even going to be able to see that.
Yeah.
And also then you get into kind of the territory of like, if you go out there and like, burn the crowd out, chances are the second match isn't going to be very happy with you. And especially at the point I am at in my career, the last thing I want to do is piss off more experienced people that are going on that show after me.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, but yeah, that seems to be, I don't think there's a right answer or wrong answer. Like you said, I think it depends on the matches that are on the card, the venue, knowing the audience, knowing the mindset of the audience, know what they expect kind of thing. And also, but it's not just matches. It's like, do you find yourself having to be like, do you check in with the other guys? Like, what have they got planned? I don't want to do something if you're doing it. I don't want to hit this move if it's going to detract away from you guys later.
Yeah, definitely. Try to do that because it's common courtesy to the other guys. If you go out there and do all the things that they had, then what the hell do they do? And also, I think as well, like one of the big things to me that I kind of realized about in terms of like asking and finding, I've got almost like a photographic memory for wrestling. Like my party trick, which I didn't realize is a thing, is like when we're at training, Scotty will go, Brad, what's this guy's finisher? Or what's this finisher? What's this finisher? And I'll reel them all off. But I also think not only is it a case of not trying to do other people's stuff so they can't do it, I look at it from the point of view of, right, say I'm on a card, right, that's got Scotty and it's got Robbie X. Chances are you will not see me throw a black mass because one, it's his finish, but two, I'm not an ex-martial artist, mate. I'm an ex-rugby player. I do not have the flexibility to pull that kick off as smoothly as he does. So all it's going to look is not only am I trying to copy him, but I'm doing a piss poor job of it compared to what he does. Same with like Robbie. Robbie is an absolutely incredible cruiserweight. Like some of the things that man does in the ring, I just watch him and I'm just like, I genuinely like don't know how he does it. So I'd also try to stay away from that, one out of like respect to him, so I don't want to steal his stuff, but also because there's only one Robbie X, there's only one Scotty Rawk. If I tried to be like that, then it'd look like exactly what it is, which is me trying to rip him off.
Yeah, it's I've just got images of like not comparing you to Mick Foley, body wise or shape wise, but when he used to hit the sweet shin music, and it'd be like, that's his version of the sweet chin music. That'd be like your version of the black mass. It'd be like, yeah, no, mate, I'm kicking you in the shin. So there's no way I'm kicking you in the chin.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't look like a finisher, does it? If I'm trying to take his kneecaps off with my kick.
That's it as well. Because I remember probably a few early on in the channel's career, I had the pleasure of speaking to Matt Myers, and he kind of said something that's always sort of stuck with me. Is he would go to like an NGW show and he would look at the card, see who's on, and he'd be like, right, okay, this guy's on, this guy's on, this guy's on. they're better than me at aerial, they're better than me at comedy, they're better than me at brawling. Right, I'm not having any of those three kinds of matches tonight. I'm going to work a technical match.
Yeah, exactly. Because at the end of the day, say you're on a show with someone that does something a lot better than you. Who are they going to remember? They're going to remember the guy that does it incredibly well. So I mean, not that I would anyway personally, but say if I was on a show with Rob, I'm not going to try and do a fast-paced cruiserweight match, because if I try to do that, one, I'm going to get blown up doing it, but two, it's never going to be as good as the fast-paced cruiserweight match that like Robbie and Scotty can put on. Same as like kind of like even like the brawling and the striking when it comes to people like, you know, Hardman Dan's punches are insane. And so like, I mean, Reese and Rogan kind of go without saying as well. So I try and adapt my style to get away from them, because you don't want to look like a rip-off of them people.
That's it. It's kind of finding that middle ground. Sorry, because came across you speak. You kind of got, obviously, you know, you can't not do that sort of stuff, but you need to kind of make it your own, so people know it's you doing it. I say you need to be able to throw punches. You need to be able to work stiff, or you know, still brawl, but you don't want to be. They say you don't want to be compared to those guys because that's what they do. So you kind of got to find that middle ground where it's okay to do it, but you know, it's butcher style.
Yeah, man, I think it's definitely, that's the thing. I had a lot of great ideas, like, you know, like I built characters on 2K, so I kind of always had an idea for my moveset and things like that. But it's now trying to think like I had movesets for the characters that I created, and I'm just like, my body, I won't be able to do it, or I won't be able to do it very well. So it's very much trying to figure out, you know, what I can do, what I do well, and kind of building from there. That's why it's like, it's so important lately, because yeah, I can do all these things at training, but doing it when the pressure's on, when there's a crowd out there, is completely different. And there's certain things that I've done for the first time on shows, and I've been like, all right, I can do that. And like the pressure, I think that personally, I tend to be someone who probably performs under pressure a lot better than what I first realized. I tend to perform better on shows than what I do at training sometimes, because you can't mess up, not when you've got a crowd out there that have paid money to come see it. Like, the end of the day, man, we're in a cost of living crisis. If them people have taken the time to choose to pay their money to, like, you know, come see a show I'm on, least I can do is give them my best.
Yeah, well, that's it, man. But it's also like, you know, if you do mess up, you know, like, okay, learn from it. You know, I won't do it again next time. You know, I'm gonna do the move again, but I'm not gonna mess it up next time. You know, don't be scared to do the move.
No, but this is the thing, dude. Honestly, with the point I'm at the moment, I'm just trying to learn as much as I can from different things, from, you know, from live reps. Like, it's true what they say, like, you can't replace that practical experience of doing shows. Like, it's so invaluable, like some of the things that I've realized I can do. So that is very much the goal, is just listening to the crowd when I'm out there and trying to figure out, well, all right, this works or this doesn't. Like, in the past, I've been quite a prideful person, and I've always been like, oh no, it's my way, this is what I'm going to do. But I kind of realized, like, some of the things that I thought was like incredible, the crowd was a bit like, eh. Yeah. Whereas there's other things that I was like, well, this isn't even anything special, and they pop through it, and I'm like, all right. So I guess it's trying to take ego out of it is really what I'm trying to do at the moment.
Yeah, I kind of obviously can't relate to the wrestling side, but I can kind of, anybody knows me knows, you know, I like to draw, pick up a pencil. You know, sometimes I've done some artwork and I'll be like, that's fucking amazing. And people are like, yeah, it's all right, you know, appreciate for what it is. Then I'll do something that's taken me like 30 minutes. That's just quick and easy, but very clear lines. And they're like, that's fucking awesome. I'm like, I gotta admit, you pop in for something that took me 30 minutes over something that took me a fucking week.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the simple things. It's the things that they can just be like appreciate more, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. I think as well, sometimes with people, it's what they can identify with. So it's something like Zach Gibson said to me, he was like, look, not many people know what a wrist lock feels like, but they know what it's like. But that's why people tend to react to chops. Because at the end of the day, no, most people maybe haven't been put in some of these holes or know what it feels like to bump in a wrestling ring. But everyone's been hit at some point, chances are, so they can identify to that more, which is why you have people that kind of react to it so much more now.
Yeah, which is, you know, going old school, you know, Randy Orton's punt. still for me is one of the best finishing moves because it's just a freaking kick in the head, and people could be like, yeah, okay, I would never want to take that kind of thing.
No, exactly. At the end of the, I think they're the best finishers to me. A finisher like the ones that look like finishers. Like I always used to say, one of my favourite finishers is either the shell shock that Shelley does, which is Blade Runner or Sister Abigail, because at the end of the day, you're getting dropped on your head with momentum. If you used to do that to someone out in the street, they're gonna know about it. The same with like some of the big strikes, like spinning heel kick, like Malachi was always one of my favorite, especially when he was doing his Aleister Black stuff.
Yeah, no, definitely. And again, shout out to Mr. RJ Singh, who's basically brought the DDT back. He's protecting that move like a boss, and he's made it fucking formidable. Just a DDT. It's not no such thing as just a DDT, but you're getting dropped on your head. That shit's gonna hurt.
Yeah, exactly. And I've managed to meet RJ a couple of times because I've driven Scotty down to Pro Wrestling East.
Nice.
And yeah, they're really fun shows as well, to be honest with you. They've got a beautiful venue and all the people down there are really welcoming. But considering, I know I've seen on Twitter a couple of times that RJ keeps saying that he's going to retire, but I think he'll probably end up out wrestling most people in this country at this rate.
He's the British Terry Funk, man, I'm telling you.
Yeah, man. But do you know what? If you can still do it, then fair play to him.
Exactly. Why not? Just work smart. Build a match up around that one move. Bang. Finish. Done. Smart booking. Dude, just clocked the time. I've just kept you longer for the 60 minutes than promised. So, dude, obviously, fingers crossed, if you agree, we will chat again. But for now, do you want to plug your socials where people can come and see you and sort of see what shows you're going to be on, what shows you've been on, check out the highlight reels or clips?
Yeah, man. So in terms of kind of like my socials, I still call it Twitter, I'll be honest with you. But I'm on Twitter at Grimsby_Butcher. And then also I'm on Instagram. They're kind of like my main two platforms. Instagram is Butcher with Grimsby. But I'll just say, while you're checking me out, honestly, check out Jay Vertigo's account, Scotty Rawk, and also Fast Count Clothing. So they've designed a t-shirt for me. And it is incredible that hopefully I'll be putting into print in the near future. I have promised him I will do that, and he does keep hounding me about it. So I should probably get my ass in gear about that.
You beat me to it, man. That was going to be part of my little closing segment. I was sort of saying, like, thank you, obviously, to obviously, we sponsor True Grit now, but thank you to Fast Count as well. Give them a shout out. I've started putting their little logo on the banner, and yeah, so I was going to drop that in there, but you beat me to it. So kudos, mate. You get the points for that. I'll let you take the credit for mentioning that. Obviously, as you mentioned, Jay Vertigo, all those guys. When I upload this on Twitter, I'll drop them in there as well in the description. So obviously, when it goes on Instagram, if you're not following Brandon now, click on the link, give the dude a follow. Same on Twitter, and also keep your eyes peeled because we said it at the start of the show, dude. We started high. 2024. I think it's going to be an awesome year for you. I expect nothing more than. Again, I'm going to chat to you in 12 months' time, and you'll have been on various promotions across the country, and I expect to see belts behind you next time I talk to you.
Hey, that'd be awesome, man. That's the hope. Honestly, just as many opportunities to wrestle would be sick. That's kind of all I want to do, is just do what I wanted to do when I was a kid, travel up and down the country, being a professional wrestler. Like, I don't think there's many cooler jobs than doing that.
Exactly. So, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we are only the sponsor. I have no pull, but maybe if I just say it often enough, we can get Butcher and Vertigo on True Grit, challenging Crash Boat or Misery Business, or, hell, I'd love to see you guys versus Nash Boat. So, as always, do the normal stuff, hit like, hit subscribe, share, comment on the video, just help us get eyes on the prize, eyes on us. Is more eyes on these guys when I get to chat to them. So yeah, thank you for watching. Keep your eyes peeled. Some awesome stuff going on next year. some good guests coming up, and I will be speaking to Sandy Beaches tomorrow, and that will probably get uploaded on Friday before Planet Wrestles show Saturday night. But yeah, thank you for watching, and we will speak to you again very soon.